You know what? We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it because let's be honest, dating sucks. But I fully believe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I'll bring a new topic, a trend, a skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because I fully believe and know that love isn't broken, but dating is. So let's reinvent it together. Hello there, sugar pantses. It's Kira. Welcome to Reinventing Dating, but more importantly, the midlife conversations that I'm having right now. Look at me, winning at life, coming back less than 24 hours than the last podcast I did. But I wanted to come over here. I didn't want to leave you hanging with a part two because maybe you listened to yesterday and were like, okay, that's interesting. But how the fuck do I change, Kira? How do I change? I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. If you did not listen to yesterday's, can we actually change in midlife or not? Is this kind of who we're stuck with? Is this the person that we are? Is this our personality from now on? And if our personality isn't feeling very likable right now, that might be very hard to feel. But I have come here with happy and good news, my friend. Change is possible. But if you have not listened to yesterday's, I'm going to encourage you to go listen to that first, because I'm going to be referencing some things I said yesterday, and it's going to make a lot more sense. But we talked yesterday about the real reasons why we don't change. And it doesn't have shit to do with willpower at all. And it has a lot to do with just actually the emotional mental toll that it takes to change. We are legitimately rewiring our brains and sometimes unlearning a habit that we have been doing for years and years and years. And so many of us are like, I'm going to try this for like 5 days. And if it doesn't really work, then I'm out. And here's the deal, I'm that person too. That is the former fixed mindset version of me. Trying new things, not perfect at it right away, not trying it again. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to humiliate myself, even to myself? I don't know. Because sometimes new things and change are good. So let's talk about how do we actually change? Because once again, do not beat yourself up that you didn't know this. This is new fucking science. Some of it within the last year or two. So how would you know that unless you spend a crazy amount of time researching the shit like I do? So that's why you listen to this podcast, so that I can do that work for you and you can come here and learn. Now, change is not as easy as A to B. That's the first thing I'm going to say. It's not, I now want to start meditating daily and I'm now just going to start meditating daily. Putting that habit into place, and you're probably replacing that time from another habit, is going to take steps. But it's also going to take mindsets, maybe a shift in perspective. A couple of things that they have guaranteed help motivate and move us towards change is that there has to be a discomfort with how things are. We have to be a little over our own shit. We have to say and notice what I'm doing isn't working anymore. And it actually now is mentally, emotionally, physically taking a toll. Things have to be uncomfortable for us to want to go through the action of change, especially since we learned yesterday that we were told it only takes 3 weeks to change. And now they're saying the minimum is 66 days. That's more than 3 times, but that's the minimum. And you and I both know that there's no way that if we are not uncomfortable in our life as it is, we are not putting the time, the energy, getting the support, putting in the money, any of it to actually change. So the first reason that needs to be in place for us to change
is we have to be uncomfortable enough with what's happening in our lives to say, I'm going to actively go after this. Because rarely, I don't even know this person, but I don't know anybody who wakes up one day and goes, you know what? This thing doesn't seem to be as good as I want it to be. I'm going to actively work on changing that without any discomfort or any real problems. We don't do that shit. Life is too hard. We're too busy, too expensive, everything else to just wake up one day and decide we're going to change without discomfort. No, my guess is you maybe had to lose a relationship. You might have had some health shit come up. You might have had to switch a job. You might have had to really hit a tough fucking place for you to say, all right, something's got to give. So maybe you've been saying about something that you want to change for years now. Maybe, oh, I'd really like to do this, or I'd really like to lose this weight, or blah, 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 blah. But there's not actually discomfort around it. I see this a lot with my singles. We've become very comfortable in our single safe space. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, if you want a relationship, it's not a very good place to be in long term. We have to be uncomfortable enough, over our own shit enough, sick of our crap enough to go, okay, I am going to work on this because where I'm at is unacceptable at this point. The next thing that we need for change is the willingness to face the pain and struggle of change. We may have to unlearn something. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but that's actually a huge part of change that we don't talk about. We just think, I'm going to replace. I'm going to start doing this instead of all the things I've been doing in the past. But that's not really how change works. We have to be willing to unlearn what we have been doing, understand the benefits of what we're adding to keep us motivated, and be willing to face the obstacles, growing pains, and sometimes the shit that comes up with why we were maybe the way we were for so long. I realize now that I have chosen a very interesting career because I have chosen a career that is asking people to want to self-reflect, look at their lives, and work on them. And that's not easy. It's not quick. It's certainly not painless. And a lot of people don't want to fucking do it. They really, really don't. For as much as we grouse or complain about what we don't like in our lives, there has been many people that I've held up the mirror and said, do you see what's happening here? And they see it, and then they don't want to see it anymore. We have to be willing to look at our own shit, which I know is hard as fuck. Personally for me too. But I also know what's on the other side of that struggle, of those growing pains, is a better life. And there is a point where we have to go, I'm willing to sludge through the sludge for a better life, for a better relationship, for a calmer mind, for a better feeling body, all of it. And the final mindset we have to have in place, which is my favorite fucking mindset, is called the growth mindset. And this is all new work from a book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, which I think is mind-blowing. The growth mindset, or understanding the fixed versus growth mindset, was an absolute game changer for me in understanding why I didn't go after things, why I never felt motivated, why I didn't take feedback particularly well. All of it. The growth mindset is something that if you were born before the year, let's say 2005, you didn't learn any of this. It was never applied to your life. And in fact, we are the exact examples of Gen X and elder millennials of what not to do when you teach or praise children. I'm not going to go deeply into the fixed versus growth mindset. I did an episode not too long ago on it, but it's a mindset that can be a game changer for the way that you approach things, for what you go after and how you go after them. And honestly, a lot of level of success in many areas of your life. So those are the mindsets you need to have. But let's talk about this next step, which is how we learn the information to change, because that's not the same for everybody. And one of my favorite things about 2024 is our conversation around neurodivergency. I'm personally ADHD, have been my whole entire life. They just called it talking too much when I was a kid. But I now can understand why I acted the way that I did, why I made the choices that I did, and how some of the shit that I've been blaming on myself for years was actually pretty much out of my control, especially when I was a kid in an education system or with parents who never even had heard of ADHD. But the thing is that our education system, and let me tell you, I am in no way putting down teachers. I think they are the fucking heroes of our world. Have you met the children out there? Have you met other people's children? My parents were teachers. My grandparents were teachers. I do not think we give teachers enough credit, enough money, enough respect for the bullshit they put up with on a daily basis, not just from children, but from parents, from administration, testing, all of it. I'm not going to go into that. But what we have learned is that ultimately we have been taught virtually one way. The way that we were taught growing up is you read something, you comprehend it, and now that's information you have in your system. I think you and I both know, since that information, I can guarantee that I don't remember half of the shit, most of the shit at this point. I can't do advanced math. I don't remember chemistry and shit like that. I don't remember my social studies or my history that much. There's things along the way that have sparked interest in me, or I would say I've done a ton of learning as an adult, because learning for me as a kid and in the situation that was created for me wasn't a very good match and didn't feel very good. But I want to talk a little bit about not only the different styles in learning. That's not that interesting because I think a lot of us know those. There's auditory, which means you learn better by listening. There's visual, which means you learn better by watching. There's kinesthetic, which is taking like a physically active role, hands-on learning. And I would say that's definitely true for me. I think it's true for a lot of us. I always took more interest and learned more from experiments we were doing in science or labs, and we remember it because of that. You can touch things. And then there's reading and writing, which is the base of how a lot of us learned, and is honestly not the way a lot of us do learn, as in comprehend and apply the knowledge that we just learned. Now, the last few years, I've really started looking into how we learn, designing programs for how people learn. And it's been a slow process myself, because all I want to do for everybody is to give them all of the information in my head until I realize that information is not transformation. And I don't want to do that anymore because I see some people be able to take that information and run with it, but I think the majority of us don't, including me. So a lot of this information is from an incredible book called Design for the Way That People Learn. And I have been using it as a guide for designing a new program that I'm going to tell you about, for really stepping back and looking at how people change. And honestly, the information's pretty fucking fascinating. When I first got this book and started reading, I was like, oh, because there were things that I had never even thought about. Because once again, I was stuck in the willpower of, if I want to change or get new information or learn something, I have to buckle down, I have to read, or I have to listen to a bunch of stuff and take notes and then figure out how to then in turn add it to my life. And somewhere in that muck, that mess, I just either lost interest or it seemed too hard or I would get overwhelmed and then I'm out. So some of the things that they tell us about not just how people change, but how people learn to change is a couple of things. So before we even take in the information to then apply it to change, we have to look at some of the gaps and how we're receiving that information and what might be in the way from us taking in, comprehending, applying that information. So the first thing is our knowledge gaps. Now, I can tell you this, when it comes to dating, which is what I normally talk about, there is a shit ton of knowledge gaps out there. I would say the majority of people do not have the proper information about love, about dating, about how relationships actually work. They have a lot of knowledge gaps about relationship skills that they need to have to keep the relationship going. And I would say that a lot of the conversation online about dating is really out of date information, out of date mindsets for the relationships that we know now actually work and how to build them and move them forward. Once again, information alone isn't transformation. You're probably not going to read a book and your life is forever changed. You're probably not going to listen to a bunch of podcasts and your life is forever changed, even if that's the way that you learn, because information isn't enough. Next, we'll talk about there's knowledge gaps, but here's the thing that I think is really the problem for most of us is there's skill gaps. So we're confusing learning knowledge when we actually need to build a skill or practice that skill, not just learn more information. Now, for me, what I used to do is I would be like, ugh, this isn't working for me. So then I would Google, Dr. Google, and say, how do I change or what do I do about? And then I'd read a lot of articles, usually from decent websites, Psychology Today, a lot of science back shit, and I'd understand what I was doing. I'd understand, it would make sense to me, but I couldn't change it. The information alone wasn't enough to change. And that's because so much of what I actually needed to do was a skill. Let me throw out some skills that I've been talking about for years that we think is information, but is actually a skill. Our self-worth. The average person just thinks that the way that they think about themselves is maybe a mindset or perspective. It is just the thoughts that are swimming around in your heads. A lot of people actually think it's truth and it's not. But self-worth and feeling good about yourself on a daily basis is actually a skill that can be learned, a skill that can be built, a skill that can be applied, and a skill that can be practiced. And self-worth is never going to change just from information. And that right now is so do I, or we would all feel a lot fuck ton better about ourselves. Boundaries. I think that everybody's okay, I understand boundaries, and we think it's like a mindset of just like we're letting people do this or not. No, it's an actual skill. You have to learn what a boundary is and then understand how to practice that boundary. Learn scripts, have templates. You then need to apply and practice boundaries. First with people who don't mean that much. First with people who are going to receive your boundaries so that you can then practice with people and be okay with setting boundaries, whether they are well received or not. Other things that we may think of as just information we need to learn that's actually a skill. How to have tough conversations in a way that both people feel seen and heard. How to make better decisions. Mindfulness. That is just not information you can take in. You have to practice that skill over and over and over until it starts to work. Meditation practice. It's a practice, not just a mindset. There are so many things that we are hard on ourselves for, that we are beating ourselves up for, that are actually just a skill gap. We may have learned the first step of information, but then we have not applied, practiced that skill until it then became a habit. And now we know, because you've been listening to this podcast, that it takes at least 66 days for that habit to take, for that to become a thing. I mentioned that I've started this new podcast, Rom-Com Rescue, with my brand new favorite person on earth, Dr. Ismail Morley. We are having a great time, but she's been so nice to me because I do a lot of the tech stuff. And she's, oh my God, you're so good at this. You're just so like naturally better at this. And I had to remind her, a therapist, that I have been doing this for 12 fucking years. My first podcasts were utter shit. You'll notice they are not up here anymore. They were not that good. I didn't really know a lot. But in the time of the years of even the not so great podcasts, I learned how to create an outline. I learned what I wanted to say and how to say it. I became more concise. I started to learn how to use the tech to take out the parts that were not as concise. All of it. The reason I'm fucking good at it now is because I have been doing it for literally 12 years. The next kind of gap that we don't really know about is a motivation gap. Who hears that? There's a book that was written a couple of years ago, I think now, by Devin Price, which is Laziness Doesn't Exist. And she goes into all of the reasons of why we don't go after something. And once again, as we mentioned, it has nothing to do with willpower or laziness. It has a lot to do with fear. It has a lot to do with limiting beliefs, a lot to do with not believing that the outcome can happen for us. But it also has to do with motivation gaps. And a motivation gap is if someone knows what to do, as well as they know the skills, and then they're choosing not to do it. That's a motivation gap. Raise your hands in the air like you just don't care if that's you. It's me. It's me. I'm the problem. So why do we have motivation gaps? Once again, sometimes we don't believe that we will really change. Why do this thing? Because I'm probably going to suck at it, or it's probably not really going to work or stick. What's the point? And when we become in our 40s and older, we just double down on that idea. Sometimes it's due to a worry or concern about the change. Who else will be impacted? Am I going to affect people's lives that I care about in a not so positive way? And here's what I'll say, because what I do is self-work. It's work on yourself, mindsets, skills, positive psychology to feel better and get more joy into your day, get more love in your life. If you're doing that self-work, it can only be a good thing. Sometimes we're distracted and we have made other things a priority. Now, I know there are people out there who are single moms. They are hustling. Their days are long and hard. I get that. I also get that we spend a lot of time on our phone. If you're a bit like me, you are also a content consumer. I love TV and movies. I now do a podcast that talks about how much I love TV and movies. That is actually now a part of my business. But even when I'm busy, rarely am I so busy that I don't have 5 minutes to meditate, 5 minutes to do something else that makes me feel good. That is a long-term feel-good outcome, not just a short-term. And really, I'm just prioritizing other things. Sometimes it's this business. Sometimes it's a game I play on my phone. All of those things are true, and I'm not shaming anybody, but I will say that we do make a lot of excuses and we distract ourselves with things that don't really help. And we probably have a little bit more time and energy to do things that bring us joy, to do things that bring us calm. For this next chapter, I want to be calm. Now, calm Kira is still going to be ridiculous and sweary. She's just not losing her shit all the time. Now, one of the special motivation gaps, which is a big thing that I've had to learn and help, particularly with a clientele that's mostly over 35, we have to learn. When we learn new information or skills, lots of times, by the time we hit this age, we have to unlearn the old information first. And a lot of us aren't doing that. We're just trying to band-aid on the new stuff. But we're not checking out the reason why we've been doing this the same way for years and years and years. And how much this new thing is going to benefit us when we apply it over what we've been doing. We may have to unlearn some beliefs that our parents handed over to us that don't work for us. I'm going to let you know right now, because she doesn't listen to this podcast, my mom pissed me the fuck off this week. Hard fucking core. I had a lot of mixed words about my mother to Danny the last couple of days when we've been hanging out. It's interesting to see in real time her say the things that have been swimming around in my head for years and years and years, and that I believed were true about me or about women of size or what we can do or we can't do. There's reasons why we believe what we believe, and a lot of them are way past their expiration date. And it's really interesting to be in the place that I am now because I can see it in real time. And sometimes I set a boundary around it. Sometimes I'm just like, I gotta go. But most of the stuff that we think and believe doesn't just come from our minds. We didn't just create it from smoke, thin air. Another problem with motivation that I think is really important to mention is that we may think we're really, really motivated. We may even tackle something for quite a while, but we can't keep that motivation going. And there's usually a reason for it, and it's down to intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Now, extrinsic motivation is when we do things for external rewards. Maybe we do it because we think it'll make our family happy, our parents happy. Maybe we do it because other people have been making fun of us. Why do you look like that? Or why aren't you in a relationship? Or whatever it is. Maybe we learn a new thing, a new hobby, join a new religion, whatever it is, because we are looking for external confirmation, external admiration, sometimes rewards. This happens a lot in our careers and our businesses, and that is extrinsic motivation. We are motivated by outside things, usually for other people. The opposite of that is intrinsic motivation. An intrinsic motivation is we are motivated for ourself. We are changing this thing for us and no one else. We are tackling a new hobby, a new workout, a new habit, because we believe deep down that this is important in our life for us to either feel good or be happier or to be more zen or whatever the reasons. Now, which motivation do you think has the lasting staying power to actually change? Ding, 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 ding. I won't go into it. And I'll be honest, even sharing those descriptions, probably like 30 to 40 people guess the wrong one. So the right answer is intrinsic. We stick to things when they are for us and only us. If there has been something that you've been wanting for a while and it's not working, take a minute after this podcast and write down why you're doing it, what it's really about. Are you doing it because you want to feel good? Or are you doing it because you want to get your boss off your back, or your parents to shut up, or your parents off your back, or your friends to look at you differently? I think we date extrinsically a lot. I think that a lot of us date people who we think will make us look good versus people who make us feel good, who we can connect with. I knew that my relationship with Danny was real when I cared enough for him and loved him enough, and what we had created was special enough that I didn't give a fuck what anybody else said. I didn't care what my mom and my sister said. I didn't care what my friends said. I knew in my heart of hearts that this is a person that I wanted to keep dating. And I think the outcome from that was different because of it. Now, the next gap that can show up when learning are habit gaps. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday, that many of the things that we're doing, coping skills, the things we do every day, maybe brushing your teeth or making coffee or driving to work, are automatic processes. We barely have to think about them. Our brain doesn't have to think as hard, but then also when it's automatic, it can be hard to change. So that habit gap is being able to look at why we do things, not just what we do, but why we do things, so that we can change the habit, take it out of the automatic process and replace it. And then finally, I actually think this is a much bigger one than we talk about. It's environment gaps, our surroundings. Who are the people we are surrounding ourselves with? What conversations are we having with them? What kind of rules or expectations have we maybe put in place? If it's where you live or it's a place you work, there might be a culture there that everybody is bought into. And so maybe you don't like the culture, but changing it is really hard because everybody is bought into this culture. When I talk about dating and people say, I don't know, should I move from where I'm at? I say, does where you live share your values? Does the culture of your town or your city. Overall, share what's important to you. Part of the reason why I live in Madison right now is because it does. Part of the reason I don't live other places that I might think are beautiful or make me happy is because the culture there isn't a good match for my values. If we aren't changing, there's a very good chance that our environment is not created to help us make those changes. The people that we're with aren't working on the same things. The people we've known forever maybe don't want to try the new things that interest you or have conversations about things that you're now into. I think I do love being in my 40s because everybody joined me on this deeper level of why are we here? What are we doing? What's working? What's not? How do we do better? Things that I think we got really distracted about in our 20s and 30s. We're living life, we're trying to strive for better and more, but who are you surrounded with? What are they saying? What are they telling you? What are you guys talking about? Is it growth and movement forward? Is it happy? Is it celebratory? Is it supportive? Because if not, you're probably not making many changes. So yesterday we talked about why we don't change. Today we've talked about some of the mindsets for change. Some of the things we have to think about when we're learning, how we're learning, so that we can actually take in the information and skills for change. And now I want to talk about the things you actually need to do if you want to make changes in your 40s and 50s and 60s and beyond. The first one that I've referenced a couple different times here is self-reflection. And that is one of the gifts of midlife. Not that self-reflection is fun in any way, but it is something that naturally seems to happen that can be jarring and shitty, but also helpful if we're willing to lean into it a little bit and use it for learning. So self-reflection is taking the time to reflect on ourselves, our desires, our strengths, our weaknesses, our values. It allows us to gain clarity about what we want to change and why. We have to know what and why we want to change it to actually create change. That's the first step. The second step is looking at your surroundings and possibly changing your surroundings. If you want to learn something new and your friends or family or area aren't supportive, you probably can find somewhere that is. A little new community of people, hopefully offline, but sometimes on. But we need to change our surroundings if the surroundings we have aren't really encouraging or supportive of that change. Now, that doesn't mean 100% you just poop everybody out of your life and just say, nope, everybody's gone. You're not helping me change. No, it means that sometimes we're adding new people in. Sometimes we're not expecting friendship or a partner to be in the exact same space as we are, because I think it takes a village. And we find some people who want to grow and learn with us. And if we do so in a beautiful way, it helps our partners want to learn and grow with us. Danny and I had a knockdown, drag out fight the other day. This doesn't happen much in our relationship. It really doesn't. We do a lot of tough conversations or strategies, but there's not a lot of like yelling or mean words. The meanest words came from me. I said, I'm really mad at you right now. But I know that the person he is encourages me to be a better person. And I know the person I am encourages him to be a better person. After that fight, he actually went and looked for a new therapist. We talked about some stuff that we both need to work on. And it's something he's been meaning to do. He's like, okay, this is the time to do it. That's when growth is for good, my friends. The next thing we need for change, unlearn what's getting in the way from change. Letting go of limiting beliefs, letting go of past stories that don't serve us anymore, past parts of our identity that are not who we are anymore, forgiving younger versions of ourselves for not knowing better or just doing the best that we could, unlearning so that we can clean slate this shit and build on top of it. The next thing we have to do for change is to create a plan or a path. You have to have a plan, at least goals, but honestly, a step-by-step plan if you really want to change. Most of us don't work like that. Most of us are just like, diet starts Monday. Hope it works this time. No, create a plan. What are you going to maybe add into your life? Where are you going to maybe move more? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you anything about eating and dieting because that is not my forte. But you know what I'm saying here. When we are able to take larger goals and make them into smaller, manageable steps, understanding the skills, the resources, the support we need, that is going to be so much easier because the path, first I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And then hopefully we're going to start seeing some fucking change around here. Now, this one's important, leading to the learning and learning styles. But we are going to take in the information, the new updated correct information. But we're not just going to take in the information. We are then going to take that information to apply to our lives. And then we need to practice that over and over and over. Do you know how many people on a daily basis tell me they suck at dating? Like virtually everybody I talk to. Then when I ask them how much dating they've actually done, like dating, not relationships, but dating, a lot of times it's very little. And I'm like, how are you good at dating if you've never dated? How are you good at dating if you haven't put any thought about who you're looking for? How are you good at dating if you haven't thought about what you need? How you put yourself out there? Make it make sense. We have to not only take in the information, but apply it and then practice it over and over, annoyingly over. Not any person who is ultimately successful in life has ever just shown up and said, I'm here, let's fucking do this. There's usually been school, then ton of practice for years, tons, and then success. But for some reason, all of us normies over here think that we can just apply it and it's good within a week. Oh, we got this. We got this. Everything in life is telling me that that's not true, but okay, I guess I just suck. Which the new thing is, for real change, you practice, 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 and practice more. One of the surprises about Danny and my relationship is that he is an incredible musician. I didn't know this for the first bit of dating him until I think that one of his friends or family members outed him as being a trained classical pianist. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I had no idea I had taken piano lessons. I can sit down and play some very simple ditties at this point. But I was like blown away that Danny is an incredible musician. And there's part of me that's a little jealous of how much better at it he's than me. But I also know that I never fucking practiced. When I was a kid, I didn't want to play piano. I wanted to be out with my friends, or I wanted to go swimming, or I wanted to do this or that. I didn't fucking practice. So I love this idea in my head that I'm supposed to be so good at something and I've never fucking practiced. 2 more things, guys. What else do you need? You need support and accountability. You need to see other people doing it and having success. You need somebody to keep you going. Grit, resilience, cheering you on so that when you have tough days, you can come and talk about it instead of just being in your head and shitting on yourself. Support and accountability is a game changer for change. And then finally, one of the key parts of positive psychology that I love is celebration. How little we actually step back, look at how far we've come, and celebrate it. We're so focused on the future. We're so focused on this, that we never pause and look at how far we've come. We rarely pause and say, oh my God, I have worked hard for this. Good for me. Celebration is proven to be one of the biggest parts of joy on a daily basis. Celebrating even our smallest successes. And if you're rolling your eyes right now, check your self-worth. Because there should be no reason why you can't celebrate your successes as you would maybe celebrate others. When this podcast goes out today, I have a new program and it will be live. And I've been sharing it in the background with some of my former clients, current clients. It's different than anything I've ever done. It's zero about dating. It's going back to my positive psychology roots that I really love. I still think about, shout out to Courtney, when she took the OM and said, this happiness stuff, this is what's been life-changing. Because I think about that. And I thought about that 3 months ago when I said, this business isn't working anymore. I got to figure out what's next. And I dug in deep and I dug in hard and I came out with something I'm really fucking proud of. So proud of, I'm crying right now. I have a new program for women over 40, for all women, single, coupled, partnered, married, widowed, divorced, whatever. These midlife conversations have been talking about what this program is going to be about. I'm going to keep these conversations going for a little while, by the way, because this is actually the age of most of my clients too. And I'm finding that most of the conversations around dating right now are very few and far between, and they're not conversations I'm that interested in having. What I am interested in talking about is why life feels so hard at this stage, why it can feel really lonely and isolating, why I think that our generation of Gen X and elder millennials are struggling even harder with this time than I think maybe some of our former, I don't know. I'm sure that our grandmothers, this was probably hell for them. There's so many things that they can do now. But do I think that some of the younger generations are going to have an easier time? I do. This program is not taking all the knowledge I know at all. And in fact, it's very little about dating and relationships. It's about relationships with all the people in our lives, because I'm sick of telling people that they need to date in or be in a relationship to be happy, because it's not true. And I don't think I've ever sold that bullshit before. So I'm not apologizing here. I don't think I've ever sold you the idea that you needed love or a romantic relationship or a partner to be a happy person. And in fact, positive psychology research shows that single women are happier than married women. I don't think that's true of me and my story, but I also know that my story with Danny is not the average story. I think that we have relationships every fucking day of our lives, whether it be with coworkers, whether it be with family, whether it be friends or partners. The shit's the same, and how we show up in them is usually the same. I think that I know that what I want to do now at 51, I will talk about love and dating relationships till the end of time, because it's fascinating to me. It's interesting, and I now know a shit ton about them. And I'll be doing that over on Romcom Rescue for hopefully years. But where I spend my days, I want to be with other women my age, having these conversations of how we grieve what didn't happen for us. We check into who we are, where our body is, everything else now, and we figure out how to do this next chapter better. As far as change, I said change your surroundings. That's going to happen in this program because there are 2 built-in retreats with a half one halfway. You'll spend a week with me at my favorite resort in Mexico, letting go of limiting beliefs, forgiving yourself, and starting to learn these happiness basics that are fucking scientifically verified and that none of us learned. And we're all out there living in some dumpster fire shit show of perimenopause without any of this information. And I think it can make it better. I really, really do. You're going to unlearn what's not helping anymore. We will actively be unlearning the bullshit we were raised with, the cultural stuff, as well as what personally you learned, so that we can hit a neutral and build on top of it. So you're not stuck in the sludge anymore. We're going to create a plan for you. And in fact, the very first thing we do in this program that starts in September is I give you a life assessment. And that is not to feel bad or to make you cry or upset. It's to look at our starting point. It's to look at where we want to go, what we want to work on, and what needs tweaking. And that will be our baseline that we use for the whole entire program. So that when it ends in May, because this is an 8-month program, when you and I jump on for our final call, there's another one in the middle, you and I will be able to look back at the change, look back at the growth, look back at the joy that you have added to your life so you can keep going. I create that plan for you so that if you have a hard time doing things in smart, bite-sized ways, I'm going to do it for you. And in fact, this whole thing, I've even created a workbook that you're going to get in the mail before this even starts in a Joy Box drop, which is part of this program because I've created the best thing I know how to create, that you get to keep, that you get to fill out, and that you get to use on a daily basis. You can know that this is new, updated, correct information, and we are not taking in just information. Our main goal is building, applying, and practicing skills and mindsets that actually make you happier. Then we're going to practice, and practice some more together on Sunday calls where we check in every week to let go of the week before and be excited so you don't have the Sunday scaries about what's coming up in the next week. There is no homework. Besides that assessment you fill out, everything is done live, either with me at a retreat or once a week in our Sunday calls. There is nothing for you to read in between that you're not going to read. There's no videos for you to watch that you're not going to watch. This is set up for if you just show up, you will succeed, you will learn, and you will grow. There will be beautiful support and accountability. This is only for 14 women. That's it. 2 spots are already gone, but you will know them. The part of the reason that we are kicking off with a retreat is also for deep community building. We're going to spend a whole week together. Most of my retreats are like 4, maybe 5 days. We are spending 8 days, 7 nights together, spending our mornings learning about each other, sharing, afternoons off, exploring the resort, snorkeling, kayaking, doing absolutely nothing besides reading on the beach or by the pool if you want to. And then finally, at the end, we are going to celebrate. The final retreat is a celebration, a graduation, time for us to get together after this whole 8-month program to say, I see you, I hear you, I see the difference, I see the change. Because a lot of times we're changing and we don't even notice it. I, as well as the other women, are going to be here 100% to celebrate you. Here's the thing, though. It's not just about happiness and joy. I'm actually bringing in a ton of guest experts, 10. So guest experts and practitioners who are going to help us during this time. I plan on learning some of this stuff along with you. I've brought in Crosby Norix, who's going to do somatic processing for us to help us feel our feelings and let go of them. She's going to help take the information that we are learning in our brain and be able to apply it in our body. We're going to have Leah Guzman, who literally wrote the book on art therapy, come in 2 or 3 times and teach us how to use art as a way of release, as a way of visualizations for the future, as a way of healing. And it's going to be amazing. I got my friend Rob Mack on how to deal with unhealthy people. I've got Nina Bedzine coming in, who is going to be talking about how to start and keep adult friendships, because that's a real thing. I've got Radaya Rhodes, a personal friend of mine, coming in to talk about how to add intention on a daily basis so that we are doing things that are in alignment with where we're going and who we want to be. I then have a woman, this cool woman from England. Her name is Bon Allen. She did a TED Talk about body neutrality, not body positivity, but body neutrality of just how to be okay. Not love, just be okay with our bodies, where they're at, and why that's important. So she'll be calling from 9 o'clock at night to do this for us. Finally, I'm bringing in menopause help. I've got a perimenopause coach. I have got somebody who's going to talk to us about hormones, supplements, alternatives, like what we can do to start feeling better, what we should talk to our doctors about, what kind of testing we should get, because you probably don't know, and your doctor may not be helping you. I'm also bringing in Alex Ellis, an amazing woman who works with women over 40 and how to move and stretch their bodies so we're not in so much pain. Because I just found out that the very estrogen that seems to be leaving my body on a daily basis while I'm in perimenopause is also an anti-inflammatory. So as I'm losing estrogen, my body just aches more, it hurts more, and I want to know what to do about it. We're also going to have discussions about aging parents, grieving parents, empty nest, if you have kids and they're leaving, and how that can feel. Isolation, how sometimes we've isolated ourselves so much to not be hurt that we've isolated ourselves into severe loneliness. This program is incredible. It's more expensive than anything I've ever done, but both retreats are completely included. Your own single room, you're not sharing. There's a portal. We're not on fucking Facebook where we do all of our calls. We're not on Zoom either. I've spent the last 3 months building what I want to do and teach. There'll be 14 women. It's 8 months. And my goal is for every single person in this program, including myself, to say this has been the best fucking year of my life. And to walk away with a new community, with new friends, and with a new way of thinking and practicing and being in your life. The program's open. I have no idea how quickly it will sell. I also know a lot of people are going to be turned off by the price point, but you also have to look at how long has this shit been going on? How long have you been unhappy? How long have you not made changes? How long have you been in the muck? Because something is going to have to change to get you out. So why not take a program that has 2 built-in luxury retreats, 8 months of calls, and just honestly getting to hang out with me for the whole entire time because I'm mildly entertaining and really smart. And by the way, besides my podcast, this is the only way I'm working with people next year. I'm also looking at who I want to be moving forward. And this is what I want to do. I don't want to be talking to thousands of people. I want to be taking a small group and digging in deep and changing their lives. And then hopefully do it again and again and again. I hope you check it out. I hope you really think about it. And if you have any thoughts or any questions or any interests, you put in an application. It's not for me to say no. It's for you and me to jump on the phone and see if it's a good, right match for you. Because it's really important that every person that signs up is 100% in and committed to this process, is committed to themselves, this community, and me. Because I have no interest in people feeling like they failed at another program. I am doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. Here is the one thing I will say for anybody who's maybe interested. Don't even apply if you're not willing to show up for yourself. This is not like past programs where you can come on calls and mute yourself and be off video and just listen to everybody else talk. Now, if you're having a really fucking bad day and you want to set that boundary, great. But that once a week that we're there together and we are in it. Don't be checking your phone. Don't be cooking dinner. You are there and we are talking and we are learning and we are practicing and we are changing. You can't half-ass self-work and think it's going to work. If you're wanting everybody else to do the work and you get to just watch from the sidelines in your comfort zone, that's not what this is. If you're ready to push yourself slowly but surely into a new and better version, even at this age, fuck, then this is for you. And it is 100% worth it. Go check it out. I have worked my ass off on designing it. I've worked my ass off on the website, setting up the retreats, all of it. If you think that you are ready to make some changes, I am ready to step in and help you in every fucking way. And I will do it kindly and with compassion and only when you give me your permission. All of the information is at Thrive with Kira. So THRIVE, Thrive with Kira, my name, KIRA.com. I'd like it to be a cooler name than that, but every version of Thrive program was taken. Every version. I think that the conversations I've had with women right now is that most of us are only surviving or barely surviving. But there is so many tools and resources and skills that we can put in place that we never fucking learned. And God knows how awesome it would have been if we would have, that we can learn now to truly thrive. That's why it's called this. When I took positive psychology, 2 kind of words come up in positive psychology. Flourish, which I don't know. I don't love that word. But the second word was thrive. And I'm like, yes, I can thrive. That doesn't mean a perfect life. It doesn't mean the best life, but it means I am doing what I know what to do on a daily basis to keep feeling good, not get in my own fucking way, and make this next stage better. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you check it out. I hope you share it with your friends. I hope you tell everybody. I've put my number on the application page. If you guys have any questions, you can text me personally. I will answer them. The website is comprehensive, which means I have put everything that you need to know: who, what, where, when, and how. These podcasts are the why, so that you have all of the information to know whether you want to apply or not. I will also say, if this interests you, put an application in, because I don't know how long these spots are going to last. I'm also giving this out to a bunch of my coaching and therapist friends to share with their clients. And I hope this is the best thing I've done yet. It's not about dating. It's not about relationships. You'll also know that you can tap in to my brain about that anytime you want, because you also get Voxer access to my brain, which means one-on-one, you can send me a message at any time, and within 24 hours, Monday through Friday, I will get back to you with a thought, with feedback, with a script, or any support that you might need. This is the best that I know, because somebody told me a long time ago, if you know how to make people's lives better, or you know how to change people's lives, and all you do is selling little workshops or things here or there that gives them a tiny bit of information, but not that much, give them the whole process. So that's what I'm doing. We are tackling as a community the beauty of building happiness, joy, thriving in midlife. All right, guys, that's it for today. If you liked this, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the future episodes with this kind of genius. And also share it with everybody. Let them know you like this podcast. It's helpful and it gets it out there. Finally, if you love it, please leave a review, whether it's just some stars on Apple or Spotify, or writing down what you really love about this podcast. I read every single one. They fucking make my day. You become a hero in my mind, and it just makes the world a little bit better place. All right, guys, I'll be here next week. And until then, meet love halfway.